Hi everybody! Today I'm going to be showcasing the newest guitar in my collection. This is the Rivolta Mondo Combinata Classico by Rivolta Guitars. For those of you who haven't heard of Rivolta Guitars yet, they're basically the import brand of Novo Guitars, which is an American builder that makes really high-end instruments. Rivolta is also the first guitar company to ever shout me out on YouTube. Thanks for that, by the way. I got this guitar because I've been curious about Rivolta guitars for quite a while, and I wanted a proper backup guitar for Night Tripper because we're just starting to do live shows on a regular basis. I was looking for something very similar to my main guitar, my Michael Ackerfeld PRS, and not only does this serve a great backup role to that, but I've been taking it to rehearsals more often than that guitar. And today I want to show you all the specs and features of this guitar, as well as a bunch of tones, so let's dive right into it, shall we? Before we begin though, I just want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor. Phat Picks are a brand new line of guitar picks that are characterized by their extreme thickness. The whole idea behind Phat Picks was to design a guitar pick that's much more ergonomic and precise than a traditional guitar pick. They're also available with an extreme grip surface to ensure that they always stay in your hand even in the sweatiest of situations. Plus, if you do happen to drop one on the floor, you will have a much easier time finding it. See, it didn't just vanish off into the ether like most picks do. So if you'd like some Phat Picks of your own, click the link in the description below and use the promo code DJ20 at checkout for 20% off your order. So before we go over the specs, I wanted to share with you my first impressions from when I first took this guitar out of the box. My first thought was, wow, this thing is just gorgeous. Like, look at the nice gold top on it. It's got this nice 50s, 60s retro vibe, and it just works really well. I also love how the back of the neck feels. It's a gloss neck, but it's a very, very smooth gloss neck. Like, normally when I get a new guitar, I usually take a Scotch-Brite pad to the back of it to kind of make it a little more satiny, but for this guitar, I don't really have to do that. It just feels nice as it is. I also thought, wow, this guitar is a lot lighter than I was expecting it to be, which is nice because if my shoulder ever gets sore on stage, then I could just switch over to this one for a bit of relief. I was also surprised to find out that these guitars are built out of South Korea, which is one of the nicer places to get an import guitar from, in my opinion. I have never been disappointed by a South Korean made guitar. When I first plugged this guitar in though, I was blown away with how it sounded. The Rivolta Mondo buckers that they come stock with, they have this really nice, crispy tone to it. Now, there were a couple of very minor issues I had with this guitar when I first got it. The first is that the fretboard, when it got here, was really, really dry. I don't know if it was like a warehouse thing or just a change in the weather coming up here to Northern Ontario. But that was nothing a little bit of lemon oil couldn't fix. And my second issue was, in the beginning, I was dealing with a bit of tuning stability with the D and G strings here. The break angle of the strings doesn't really help with that. But I managed to fix that with new strings, and I tied a luthier's knot around the post there, so it's been working pretty well. But aside from those little minor issues there, this is a really, really solid guitar. You're probably dying to hear what it sounds like, eh? Well, I'll plug it in and give you some first impressions of it. For my amp and mic setup, it's the same as usual. MT15 head, Trainer 2x12 cabinet, and two SM57s with a Fredman clip. now that you've gotten a little taste of what it sounds like, let's go over the specs and features. This guitar features a chambered mahogany body with double binding, which looks really nice. And part of the reason I went with a gold top is because it's the only color option that has a natural back finish, and I find it's a really nice touch. I'd also like to point out how wide the guitar body is. Like, it's so wide that it won't actually fit in my hard case. It also features a set mahogany neck with a rosewood fretboard and 24 medium jumbo frets. The scale length is 25 inches, which is your typical PRS scale length. And it's my personal favorite scale length because it gives you just a little bit more room to maneuver than a Gibson, and it's not quite as tense string-wise as a Fender. It also has a 12-inch fretboard radius and a nice Rivolta Chunky C neck profile, which I find is like the sweet spot for comfort and being able to play leads. It also features all nickel hardware, Kluson tuners, a Tune-O-Matic bridge, the works. For pickups, we have the Rivolta Mondo humbuckers, which has a really nice vintage crisp to them. And for the controls, it's a very no-frills setup. One volume, one tone, three-way toggle switch. Super simple. All right, let's plug her back in and explore some of the tones. So I am legitimately impressed with how well this thing sounds. Like, with a lot of guitars I've gotten over the past couple of years, I was a little underwhelmed with at least the bridge pickup. Like, I'd swap it out for something a little heavier. But with this, it's just such a nice and crisp sound that I don't even need to change any of the pickups on this. The Mondo Bucker pickups on here are just really nice. In fact, aside from the tuners and maybe the headstock design, there is not a single thing I would change about this guitar. This is an amazing guitar on its own. And this is one of those guitars where every time I walk into the room, I want to just pick it up and play it for a bit, which is a really good sign that that guitar is meant for you. So overall, I am incredibly pleased with this guitar, and I'm going to be using this a lot going forward. It's just such a reliable workhorse, and it's so addicting to play. In fact, I've been taking this guitar to my Night Tripper rehearsals way more often than my main one. So what's your experience with Rivolta guitars? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you'd like to hear how this sounds in a mix, I am going to be working on one either for this channel or for Night Tripper, so stay tuned. Now, if you'll excuse me, I want to plug this back in and play it a little more, so I'll catch you later. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end of the video. If you enjoy my content, be sure to leave a like, follow, and subscribe. That would really help out a lot. And if you'd like to support me more directly, I've got merch for sale at the DillonJamesExperience.ca. You can also come check out my music both from my solo project and from my band Night Tripper. All of the links are going to be in the description. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.